Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study, the Acts of the Apostles. Today we're in Acts chapter 15, and we're going to look at that event in the early church we normally refer to as the Jerusalem Council. This was one of the first great conferences or councils of the church to decide an important issue. Now, the date of this council is about AD 49 or AD 50. We're at the end of the second decade of the Christian movement. Church has spread. Began, of course, in Jerusalem on the day of Pentecost. Spread throughout the city and across Judea into Samaria, along the seaboard. A convert from Ethiopia was made, and he took the gospel that way. And then the church began to spread further north, even reaching the city of Antioch in Syria, which became the first great Gentile church. And then, of course, from Antioch, Paul and Barnabas were sent out on their first missionary journey, taking the gospel to Cyprus and to Galatia. So the church is spreading. Large numbers of Gentile believers are now coming in through the ministry of the church in Antioch and Paul and Barnabas' journey. And that brings about the occasion of this Jerusalem Council and the decision they needed to make. Let's begin to read. Now certain men came down from Judea to Antioch. This is Antioch in Syria. And they were teaching the believers, unless you are circumcised, according to the custom taught by Moses, you cannot be saved. Now this brought Paul and Barnabas into sharp dispute and debate with them. So Paul and Barnabas were appointed, along with some other believers, to go to Jerusalem and see the apostles and the elders about the question. The church sent them on their way. And they traveled throughout Phoenicia and Samaria, and they told how the Gentiles had been converted. That is the conversions of their first missionary journey. This news made all the believers very, very glad. So when they came to Jerusalem, they were welcomed by the church, by the apostles and the elders, to whom they reported everything that God had done through them. But some of the believers who belonged to the party of the Pharisees stood up and said, the Gentiles must be circumcised and must be required to keep the law of Moses. So the apostles and elders met to consider this question. Now we have this group of people who came up to Antioch from the Judean area. They are Christians, they are believers. But they're saying to the church in Antioch, which is mainly a Gentile church, and they're also by extension saying this to all the new converts that have come in from that first missionary journey. They're saying for Gentiles to become believers in Jesus, they must first be circumcised. They must first become full Jewish people, that is, converts to Judaism, and then they can believe in Jesus. Historically, these people are called the Judaizers because they believe there are two steps for Gentiles to become Christians. The first step is to become Jewish, to become a convert to Judaism, and the second step is then, of course, to have faith in Jesus. Now, Paul and Barnabas do not agree with this opinion. They say, no. We're simply saved by faith. Whether you're Jew or whether you're Gentile, no matter where you start, you're simply saved by faith. Gentiles are not required to first become Jews. All they must do is believe in Jesus. Now, we thought this question had already been settled a number of years earlier when Peter had converted the household of Cornelius, the Roman centurion. The very question had been raised after that conversion, and they had decided, yes, Gentiles can believe. But now the question comes up again, because now it's not just one family, one household coming in. Now it's hundreds, even thousands of Gentile believers. And so the question arises again. Should they first become Jewish? Should they first convert to Judaism and then be followers of Jesus? Is that necessary? So Paul and Barnabas argued with the Judaizers about the question, and they all decided to go to Jerusalem and take the issue to the home church. And so they do. A delegation from Antioch goes, along with Barnabas and Paul. They meet the apostles and the elders in the church in Jerusalem, and they all decide to meet together and discuss the issue and pray about it and reach a decision. This is the occasion of the Great Jerusalem Council. They are deciding the question of Gentile converts. Must they first become Jewish converts before they become believers in Jesus? Or can you simply believe in Christ? This is a significant issue. They realize this. And so we have this great council to decide. It's a great moment in the life of the church, a transitional moment. This will determine the very the future and history of the Christian movement as it goes forward. What's going to happen? In our next session, we'll look at the details of the council and how they reached their momentous decision about faith in Jesus. But we'll see that next time as we continue to look at Acts 15 and the Great Jerusalem Council. You have a great day, and I'll see you next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the Acts of the Apostles.